Welcome, everyone. My name is Alicia, and I'm very excited to be here today with all of you to celebrate the start of Dyslexia Awareness Month. So thank you for joining this presentation, and I'll invite all of you, if you have questions during the presentation, to use the question and answer function, or to put your questions in the chat. We do have a volunteer here today who can help to answer some of those questions, and we will have time to take some of those questions live at the end of the presentation. So it's very exciting that all across Canada, we are lighting it red for dyslexia. And did you know that red is the color for dyslexia awareness? Because red is the color that many teachers used to use traditionally to mark errors on kids' spelling, homework, and other sorts of tests and assignments that they would get back. And I'm dyslexic, and I can tell you that when I was a kid, I had a lot of red coming back on the papers that my teachers would give me on my homework and my tests. And it made me feel absolutely horrible to see that color. But as a dyslexic adults from around the world have decided that it's time to take back the color red and to use that color instead to celebrate what makes individuals with dyslexia amazing. And there's a lot of different strengths and information that sharing about dyslexia can really help us to celebrate those challenges. So this month, all across Canada, there will be buildings and landmarks that are lighting up in red in support of people with dyslexia. In Newfoundland, Nova Scotia, and New Brunswick, they're all lighting it up in red. Same with Ontario and Manitoba. They're going red. In Alberta and beautiful British Columbia, they're marking it red to celebrate Dyslexia Awareness Month. So if you want to know if any buildings in your town are lighting up red, you can go to the Dyslexia Canada website. They now have over 60 buildings across Canada that will be lighting up in red. You can look to see if there's a building near you that might be lighting up in red, so you can go and see it. And if not, maybe you or your class can write a letter to your town to ask them to light up to help to celebrate Dyslexia Awareness Month. But what is dyslexia? Well, we're going to start off by having you watch this very short video that provides an excellent explanation.
Your brain is amazing, and nobody else has one quite like it. Although everybody's brain looks the same, they all work differently from each other. Just as we all have different color skin, hair, and eyes, we all have a brain that's individual to us. Like a fingerprint, we have different personalities, tastes, strengths, and weaknesses. Our brains can even see and understand the world in different ways. One of those ways is called dyslexia, which affects how the brain handles information it sees and hears. Dyslexic people may find it difficult to match letters to sounds and to remember how to spell words. They may even see letters moving around when they're reading. They might have trouble telling left from right. Remembering lots of instructions can be especially hard. They may need more thinking time to remember the right word.
Chicken! No, wait. Duck!
As well as memorizing sequences. It may be difficult for them to hold a pencil and to write by hand. Even organizing themselves can be difficult. But everyone with dyslexia is different. It can affect how people feel about themselves. When they struggle with a task that other people find easy, they may feel frustrated, angry, or sad. Some dyslexic people try to hide their difficulties because they are worried about what others will think of them. However, thinking differently can be a really good thing. A person with dyslexia may be very good at seeing patterns and solving problems, imagining and rotating objects in their heads, telling stories and making people laugh, taking things apart, understanding how they work, and figuring out how to put them together again. inventing, drawing, painting, and making things. Seeing the bigger picture. Dyslexic people can do a lot of things. They just might do them in a different way to how others would, and many of them have even become famous for it. There have been many famous dyslexic inventors, writers, scientists, business people, astronomers, paleontologists, actors, cooks, singers, artists, architects, and so on. Dyslexic people have changed the world. See dyslexia differently.
So, what did we learn about dyslexia? Well, we learned that everyone's brain is a little bit different. And dyslexia is just another difference in the brain. But being different isn't necessarily a bad thing. It's our differences that make us unique and special. We also learned that lots of people have dyslexia. It's very common. So if you have, for example, a group of kids, like this group of 10 kids here, you can imagine that at least 2 of the kids in the group would probably have dyslexia. So if there are 20 kids in your class, can you think about how many kids might have dyslexia? Another fun fact is that dyslexia runs in families. So if you have dyslexia, you might want to start asking your family members, and you might find that you have an aunt or maybe your grandpa or a cousin who also struggled with learning to read when they were your age. Talking to them about it can be a great way to make you feel a little bit better. We also learned, of course, that people with dyslexia are smart, but they find it difficult to learn to read. They also might find writing and spelling a little bit more difficult. But the important thing to know is that people with dyslexia can learn to read. They just need more time and more help to do it. But because kids with dyslexia might be struggling with learning to read and write and watching the other kids in their class doing it really easily, sometimes they can feel sad, frustrated, or angry. And you can help by being a good friend and being kind and caring. But who wants to listen to my opinion about dyslexia? Let's hear from some real kids about what they have to say about dyslexia.
Hi, I'm Shay.
Hello, I'm Simone.
And today we're wearing red for the awareness of dyslexia.
We wanted to know more about dyslexia, so we asked these kids.
Hi, I'm Zora. I'm a 16-year-old grade 12 student and I live in Brampton, Ontario.
Hi, my name is Marcus. I'm 12 years old and I live in tiny Ontario.
Hi, I'm Vicki Pike and I'm in grade 12 and I am 19 years old.
Hi, my name is Ben and I'm 11 years old and I live in Kingston, Ontario.
Hi, my name's Sadie. I'm dyslexic and I also have ADHD, and that's totally fine.
What are your favorite things to do and what are you good at?
I love to draw and watch movies.
I love to go longboarding, mountain biking, skiing, and play the drums.
I love to watch old movies, go hiking, hang out with my friends, do art, and watch TV.
I love water skiing, boating, diving, hiking, and I love learning all kinds of sorts of new things.
I like skiing, swimming, and reading, but I love to read now. I used to hate it.
What are your strengths?
My strengths are I'm very creative. I'm extremely good at art. Not to toot my own horn, but like I think I'm pretty great. I am pretty good at cooking. And I think I'm pretty good at talking to people for the most part. Oh, and business. I'm good at marketing.
I'm good at sports and music. I'm good at math.
Some people thought that couldn't do math at all, but I'm very good at math.
What age were you when you found out you had dyslexia?
I found it out just before I turned 6.
I found out I had dyslexia when I was in grade 4.
I was almost 16 years old when I learned that I had dyslexia.
I think I was around 7 years old when I found out I had dyslexia.
I found out I was dyslexic in grade 8, but my mom found out way before me. She had suspicions from a young age when I was in grade 3. But I never fully understood what dyslexia was till around grade 9 and 10.
What was school like before you knew you had dyslexia?
Very hard.
Certain parts of school were really hard for me, like reading, writing, math, and French if you're not fluent.
Before I knew I had dyslexia, I struggled in school and did not like going to school at all.
What was school like before I found out I had dyslexia? It was kind of weird. I would always be sent off to these special IEP classes, but I never knew what I had or why I was in these classes separated from all the other kids. I thought I was just maybe not that smart, but there was something going on in my head that I couldn't completely understand.
School was really hard for me because I didn't know how to read and write. And if you're in grade 4 and you don't know how to read and write, school kind of sucks.
So school was strange. I didn't understand why teachers would treat me differently. But now that I do understand why, it kind of makes sense now.
How has learning about dyslexia changed how you feel?
Learning that I have dyslexia is the best thing that could ever happen to me.
Knowing I had dyslexia makes my learning challenges make more sense.
I think that it just makes my life a bit easier.
I feel a lot better and I don't feel stupid anymore.
I feel more comfortable. My life leading up to where I am now makes more sense, why I was separated from other kids and why I needed more attention. It also makes more sense about the way that I learn and how I figure out things, because I'm a visual learner. I'm not the best at reading things and understanding. I have to see things for myself. I'm a very hands-on learner. And so knowing that I have dyslexia makes that easier for me and easier for me to tell people what I need from them to help me.
What do you wish people knew about dyslexia?
I wish everybody knew that dyslexia makes you stronger and more resourceful, and there's nothing to be ashamed of.
Having dyslexia means that I'm not ordinary, I'm extraordinary.
There are many famous, intelligent, rich people with dyslexia just like us.
You know, all those common misconceptions about dyslexia, I'm fine with, other than that one itty-bitty one that dyslexic people are stupid and will never learn to read.
I wish that people knew that people with dyslexia aren't dumb. We can learn to read, we just need to learn a certain way.
We can learn to read, we just weren't taught properly, and I didn't get that until grade 5. And when I got it, I started learning to read a bit faster, and now I can read.
Just because you have dyslexia doesn't mean it can stop you from doing anything. My teachers used to tell me that I couldn't go to college just because I had dyslexia, but I feel like that's an excuse that they're making, and I can absolutely go to college if I wanted to because I have the grades and I applied myself. And it shouldn't stop you from doing what you would like to do with your life.
What advice do you have for other kids who might be struggling in school?
Probably want to say, don't give up. And if it seems hard for you, then you are always free to ask your mom, dad, or a teacher.
My advice to other kids who are struggling with dyslexia would be to try your best, keep working at it, and learn how to advocate for what you need to learn at school.
I want you to know that you can learn to read, but you're gonna need help. It might be from some special classroom in your school, it might be some program, but you can get help. You just have to fight for it. So my advice would be, you have to do something about it. You can't just sit there and let nothing happen. You have to fight for it.
Take all the help you can get and also advocate yourself. It's extremely important because I'm a really shy person. I haven't advocated for myself in the past when I was younger because I had fears of talking to people and telling people what I need. But the sooner you learn to stand up for yourself and tell people what you need is the sooner that you can get everything that you need and make sure that people are helping you the way that you need them to help you.
Believe in yourself and never give up. You can do it. I did not learn to read until I was in grade 12. It is never too late to learn to read.
That's all for us. Thanks for joining us today.
You can also raise awareness for kids with dyslexia by wearing red or joining Read October. Bye.
Bye.
One of the girls in the video mentioned that there are plenty of successful and famous people with dyslexia, and she was certainly right about that. We have just a few to show you today. Did you know that former Toronto Argonaut and two-time Grey Cup winner Matt Black has dyslexia? Or that filmmaker Steven Spielberg, the creator of E.T., Jurassic Park, Jaws, and so many more films, is dyslexic? There are also lots of dyslexic business people like billionaire Richard Branson. His company, Virgin Galactic, was the first to send tourists into outer space, and he was on board. But he was not the first dyslexic person in space, I can tell you that. I think it was the fourth person who landed on the moon was a dyslexic astronaut. We also have lots of dyslexic actors, like the current actor who's playing Spider-Man, Tom Holland. He's dyslexic, so we have a dyslexic Spider-Man. And there's even a dyslexic Iron Man. And he's here with us today. And I'm super excited to introduce Taylor Reid, who is a professional triathlete from Caledon, Ontario. He competes at the highest level all over the world in his sport, and he won a gold medal at the Canadian National Championships. Thank you for being here with us today, Taylor.
Hi, everyone. I'm Taylor, and I am a professional triathlete, like you said, and I have dyslexia. So I've been doing triathlon for about, I'd say, 16 years now. So I basically built up a career and eventually came away with a few national medals and finally raced at the top level now in the international stage. So I've been racing all over the world, winning races, competing against the best, and it's been a great ride. I'm basically built a career after going to university. So that was really, really exciting and interesting, especially having dyslexia myself. I had to sort of advocate how I needed to learn and basically build up to get there. Like a lot of the kids said, I also had to basically figure out and find my way into the system. So the teachers, before I went into high school, they definitely were advocating that I shouldn't go into the academic stream. But I think the most important thing is to try before you decide what you want to do. So if that's something that you wanted to do, you make sure you set it up so that you can. And basically, I was able to learn what I needed and when I needed it. And being able to tell your teachers and understand what kind of dyslexia you have and what kind of tools you need to read and write and keep learning is so important. So I basically early on learned that I needed to essentially have a little bit more time. A lot of my projects, like I'd see a lot of my friends who got done early and I'd have to keep working. So like a good buddy of mine who was also a professional triathlete, he'd be able to like leave his projects until the last minute when I had to start all my projects right away. So it's been a very, very interesting combination. But the cool thing is I found that sports and triathlon sports and dyslexia have gone in hand really, really well. I was able to learn a lot of the skills that I needed in school that I applied to sports and then vice versa. So the most important one was like delayed gratification. I wasn't like able to nothing came easily. So I really, really had to work extra hard to get anything that I wanted. And like that in sport, nothing magically comes. You have to work incredibly hard to get where you want to go. So that was really, really interesting. And I was, I guess, diagnosed with dyslexia around grade 2, I'd say. So I started in a French immersion school, so fully immersed in a different language that I was not used to. And that was a fairly big struggle. I found out I was dyslexic and then moved over into a grade school, like for English mainly. But after that, I slowly started to pick up the tools that I needed. The main thing like that I found was I was pretty shy to start, but eventually I started understanding what I needed to talk to people about. And it was sort of funny, like I would be sitting there with the kids who are younger than me trying to learn how to read, even although they were able to read better than me. But slowly I actually started to find I was able to pick up certain tools to be able to read better, and I really enjoyed it. By the end, now I read on a regular basis, which is really, really awesome. But yeah, we can talk a little bit more about my triathlon career, which is basically for no, I swim first. So I swim basically 1,800 meters, and then I jump out of the water, quickly put on my triathlon suit, and then go and ride for 90 kilometers as fast as I can in the time trial position, and then quickly put on my shoes and go run a half marathon, which is 21 kilometers. And that takes me about 3 hours and like 45 minutes. So it's a pretty fast day. And yeah, I've gotten to travel all over the place doing that, which is really, really cool. And seen like a lot of things. I was just at the World Championships where I was racing for the top 15 places. So that was amazing. And now I'm back in Canada. I live in Ontario, and I'll be looking around for the Market Red stuff and seeing all the cool things that we have to do. I think we can open it up for questions if we have any.
Thanks. Thanks, Taylor. That's fantastic. I'm going to start it off with just asking you a question myself. And that is, what advice do you have for dyslexic kids who might be watching today?
I think the most important thing is to know that you're not alone, and find what you truly like. So that could be math, that could be drawing, it could be sports, but figure out what you really, really do like, and don't let anyone say that you can't do it. The degree that I took in university was actually history, so classics. So I studied Greece and Rome for essentially 5 years. It was definitely, anyone when I was in grade school would have told me that that was not a good idea and I probably would have failed. But I decided that that's what I wanted to do, and that was incredibly important. Once you choose what you like and you want to do it, there is a way, and you just have to sometimes work a little bit harder. Yeah.
I love how you take that work ethic that you developed in school, like learning that you needed to work harder to get through university, and then it looks like you've applied that to sports. Because Ironman triathlons are definitely the endurance sport. Like, you have to be really able to dig deep and work hard, and it seems like you've done both in both places, and that's amazing.
Yeah, it's been pretty cool. I think we have a couple of questions coming through on the chat. I just can't read them.
Yeah, I'm going to ask, we have a volunteer, Kim. Kim, do you want to pop in and ask a question? She was handling the questions in the chat.
Absolutely. I'm happy to. I'm just answering some as they come in. I too cannot turn on my video. Oh, yes.
That's okay. You can just ask the question.
Okay. So one of the questions is, can you share some positive ways, Taylor, to help teachers support their students in the classroom with dyslexia, as well as any maybe hints or ways that things that teachers maybe want to avoid doing if they suspect a child has dyslexia?
Trying to remember, like when I was in grade school, the most important thing probably for me was just sort of like, I guess, a little bit more time. So like that was one of the huge things that's definitely come up like over the years, is that we usually need a little bit more time to get something done. I also found like sometimes dyslexic people have a little bit more trouble like learning through the traditional ways. So obviously a little bit more visual is a huge thing. So when I was younger, I was really into biology and just like nature. And that was mainly because of like the TV series Kratz Creatures. So I didn't really pick up a lot of learning through textbooks or kind of things like that. But when I watched TV, I actually found that I would pick up stuff really, really fast. So sometimes like a little bit stepping away from the written communication can really help, and just sort of getting a little more visual things. I know that like we see a little bit more of like the use of electronic stuff in the classroom, which is really helpful. So I think that could probably be a huge thing. Yeah.
I see a question in the chat as well. And it just disappeared for me, but it was from a dyslexic student. And I'd like to jump in and answer this one too, because I'm dyslexic as well. And she was asking, you know, what, and you can jump in too, Taylor, but what should she do when she gets to a block, when she's trying and trying, but she just can't get past a point? And I would say that what I've found in my life, I've come up against that a lot of times in my life where I've been working really hard and there's just something that I can't quite master, some hurdle that I can't get over on my own. And the thing that I found that has been really helpful is to just ask for help. And that can be really, really hard for all of us to ask for help, but to find a friend or to find a trusted teacher and to just and tell them that you're struggling with it and ask for help. And that's been really what's helped me to get through my life, is to not be afraid to ask other people to help me. Taylor, do you have anything to add into that?
Yeah, I think if you've come to a block and like eventually you will get through it, but I find the most important thing is finding sort of your own little tools that work really, really well. So a couple of things that I've really run into is like I confused lick and like a fair bit. So obviously that gets a little bit messy, and left and right was really, really hard for me. But I never could figure out like when people did the two little like L's on your hand. So I found that like essentially that because I just couldn't tell the difference. I'm like, I don't know which one is an L. So I actually I broke my elbow, but I can't touch one like shoulder with my like hand because I broke my elbow when I was a kid. And I just know that that's my left side. So I do this weird thing where I like try and touch my shoulders, but that tells me that's left or right. Another one was like who and how. I could never tell the difference, but I finally was like, okay, so who is actually whom. So, but haum doesn't make sense. So I add the M on the end of who, and I'm like, okay, that's the right who, not how. So try and find your own little ways, especially once you figured out you struggle with something. And this goes for all kids. Like if you are really struggling with something in math or English or science, like try and find those little ways and those little games that almost make it like interesting and fun and personal for you. Yeah.
That's great. Thank you. So unfortunately, we're getting close to the end of our time. So we're just going to wrap it up, and then we do have a prize draw to do. So thank you so much, Taylor, for joining. And there are a few other questions in the chat. Maybe we can talk about the answers to those afterwards and send them up in a follow-up email to everyone who joined us today. That would be great. Thank you. So just to sum up, we can advance the slideshow. So how can you help your friends and classmates and individuals with dyslexia? There are a few things you can do. The first is to just make sure that you learn a little bit about dyslexia like you are today. And that can help us to be kind to our friends and classmates who are struggling with learning to read. You can also wear red on Dyslexia Awareness Day, or at some point in October, you can have a red Dyslexia Awareness Day at your school. Or you can ask your library or city hall to light up in red to celebrate Dyslexia Awareness Month. And you can talk about dyslexia to make it more comfortable for other people. So please tell your friends and family about what you've learned today about dyslexia. You can also join Read October, which is our Dyslexia Awareness Month readathon, which you can find out about at readoctober.com. And today we have a set of prizes to give out to one of the classrooms who joined today. And these prizes were donated as a part of the Read October campaign Our sponsors for that campaign are Whole Phonics and Facile à Lire, which is a French decodable book series. And we have one teacher set of Whole Phonics and one of the Facile à Lire decodable French books that we will be awarding to one of the classes that have joined today to give to their school library. In addition, the class will receive a class pizza party, which we will organize with your teacher to have delivered to your class at the day of his or her choosing. And I'm going to ask our volunteer, Kim, again. Kim, I did try to adjust your camera, so maybe you can turn yourself on. Kim is going to do our prize draw for us today.
That's okay. Unfortunately, I don't think it's working, but I've got a red bag here, and I've got all the names in the bag. So if I were in the classroom right now, I'd say drum roll.
Drum roll, please.
Drum roll, everyone drum roll. And our winner is Kristen Wilson.
Kristen Wilson, that's amazing. Kristen, can you just please in the chat let us know where you're from and the name of your school? Give a minute for that. Well, that is very exciting. Woohoo! Okay, I can't see the chat right now. What is the name of your school?
She's typing it in right now.
Okay, excellent.
All right. Congratulations, Kristen.
Thank you so much.
Holy Name of Mary Catholic School in Marysville, Ontario.
Fantastic. That is fantastic. So we're very excited. We'll be sending these 2 boxes of books to your school that can be included in your school library. They'd also be wonderful to be provided to a resource teacher or used in your classroom. And then we will also organize for your class to have a very special pizza party courtesy of Read October. So thank you everyone for joining us today for our Dyslexia Awareness Month presentation. If you would like to learn more about dyslexia, you can go to the Dyslexia Canada website or to the International Dyslexia Association Ontario website or to our Read October website. And on the Read October website, we actually have a small quiz for kids with questions that you could answer after having watched our presentation today. So if you want to do a little follow-up to check your learning, I'd encourage you to go to readoctober.com to the kids section and take our dyslexia quiz just to see, to check your understanding. So thank you so much for joining us, and thank you to Taylor and Christine and Kim who are here in the background making the webinar go. And have a fantastic day, everybody. Bye-bye.